You don't need $1 million to retire. I said it. You don't need $1, $2, $3, $4, $5 million to retire. Now, if you listen to Susie Orman, she may tell you you need $3 million to retire, but I'm here to tell you that you can retire with less than $1 million. Now, I want to go through a scenario for you right now for Andrew and Nancy, how they retired or they're planning on retiring with less than $1 million. You ready to go? Let's get into this. We've got Andrew and Nancy. Nancy's already retired, and Andrew is 63, and he's going to work until 65. Now, the reason they want to work until 65 is simply for healthcare. Keep in mind, the largest expense that you're going to have in retirement outside of housing is going to be healthcare. And if you retire before the age of 65, you have to understand, where's my health insurance going to come from? Is it going to come from the marketplace? Am I going to be able to bridge COBRA until I get on Medicare? Am I going to go on my spouse's health insurance? So you really want to have a clear understanding of what your health insurance is going to be, how much it's going to cost, where it's going to come from before you jump into retirement. So for Andrew and Nancy, the reason he's going to work until 65 is so that Nancy can stay on his health insurance plan, and then they're both going to go on Medicare. And I'll show you that here in just a second. Now, from a Social Security standpoint, they're both looking at claiming at 67. If Andrew claims at 67, his benefit would be $23.13. If Nancy claims at 67, her benefit would be $21.51. Now, keep in mind, if you claim Social Security at 67 and you're born in the year or after 1960, you're going to get 100% of your full retirement benefit. If you claim at 62, you're only going to get 70% of your full retirement benefit. And it goes up between 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, and 67. And if you wait until 70, you're going to get 124% of your full retirement benefit. Of course, you can claim at 68 and 69 as well. It's an increased benefit. So you've got to make a Social Security decision based on your individual needs. And that's what we're going to look at for Andrew and Nancy as well. Because it depends on, are we married? Are we single? When are we going to stop working? How long is our money going to last? Where's our retirement income going to come from? So optimizing this decision for Social Security is really, really important. And listen, if you want a financial EKG, if you want to walk through these same strategies and steps, all the information is below. All right. So no pensions for Andrew and Nancy. Assets are pretty simple. We've got a non-qualified joint account. This is a brokerage account. They have a $50,000. Andrew has a 401k of $500,000. And then they have a bank account of $10,000. Now, Andrew is contributing 10%. So let me show you this. He's contributing about 10% to his 401k, and he gets a 3% match. Now, a really good rule of thumb, if you're wanting to save for retirement, you want to save about 10 to 15% of your gross annual income. If you have a 401k, a 403b, a TSP, make sure you're putting in enough to get the match, but a really good rule of thumb is to put in 10 to 15%. If you can put in more than that, that would be great. If you can get the max, if you can match it, do what you can do, but always try to put in enough to get the company match. Now, if you don't have a 401k or 403b at work, but you have an IRA or Roth IRA, still follow the same rules. Try to put in 10 to 15% up until the max that you can put into your IRA or your Roth IRA. Over and above that, look at putting money in a brokerage account, a joint account. Always be looking, how can I save more for retirement? Because retirement will be here before you know it. So we've got about $560,000 in spendable assets, of which 10 is an emergency fund. So let's just assume we've got about $550,000 in retirement investment assets. Now, our house is worth $375,000. And we're looking at a rate of return of right at 3.93%. Now, I realize that's a very low rate of return when we're projecting out what the market's going to do, but I would like to stay in that lower range. The market's averaged about 8% the last 50 years, but I want to stay below that because if the market comes in higher, our investments come in more, then we high five and chest bump. But we want to plan for something down here, knowing that we're probably going to get higher than that over the long term. Okay. And if we don't, well then, hey, we plan for it, which is good. Remember, good planning and hard work is what we want to do right now. All right. From an expense standpoint, we've got current monthly expenses of about $5,300. Now, let me show you what these expenses look like. We've got baseline expenses of $3,500 with inflation. Now, baseline expenses are going to be anything that's going to stay with you over the long term. So taxes, insurance, property taxes, property insurance, groceries, your streaming bill, your light bill, gas. Those are things that'll stay with you for the foreseeable future. Now, some of those might ebb and flow. You might not drive as much in your late 80s that you do in your 60s, but for the most part, you're going to have your baseline expenses with you until kingdom come. Now, they also would like to start traveling while they're young and healthy. So we're going to project in $1,000 a month or $12,000 a year with inflation for 10 years of travel. So that's $12,000 a year with inflation, okay, for 10 years. Now, at the 10-year mark, or as we're doing our reviews, we can adjust this, and based on their health, we can elongate this travel budget, but this is what we're putting down right now. The purpose of the EKG is not Pillsbury Doughboy. You set it, forget it, you never look at it again. The purpose of it is to always be massaging this, always be looking at ways that we can make it better. And as the market continues to move forward, as the economy changes, as tax law changes, then we can make adjustments to the plan. Obviously, not everyone stays healthy throughout their retirement, so we may adjust their travel budget based on their health, or the market might go down, or we might not average what we need rate of return wise. So we have to be adjusting what we need to be looking at each and every year, and that's what we do with our clients. Now, from a health insurance standpoint, we're going to look at about $800, and we're going to start this when Andrew retires, so 1 of 2027. So let's adjust this date right there. And the reason we're going to have this go in perpetuity with inflation is we're going to assume this is for pre-65, and then we're going to assume Medicare as well. So Medicare supplement, Part D plan inside of this as well. So we're just going to assume we're going to have a health insurance bill of about $800 a month for our insurance forever. Okay? Now, no cash flows at this point, but as you can see, current cash flow statement, there's our salary. There's our 401k contributions. There's our gross income, $5,400 per month. Here's our taxation, so taxes withheld. And there's their net income. There's our net expenses. And you can see how we are positive. So their cash flow statement shows that they have a positive cash flow. Let me show you what that looks like. Let's go to pre-retirement. So they're basically breaking even based on the 401k contribution, based on their travel budget, and based on taxes. So now we go to retirement. So 65, Andrew and Nancy are both 65 at retirement. We're not taking Social Security until 65, okay? Here's our monthly cash flow. This is what's coming out of our portfolio. Now you can see, here's our investments, $625,000 in investable assets. There's our house. But you can see as we're pulling money out, how our investable assets are going down. But then there's a turn. They start to go back up. Why is that? They go back up because we drop off the travel budget, right? So we spend a little bit more and we start to see our investments creep down. And so what I like to look at is, this is a geometric return. This is taking out what we need for our expenses with inflation, earning 4%. But what happens if we have market return risk or sequence of return risk? You know, Mike Tyson likes to say everybody wants to get in the ring and box till they get punched in the nose. Everyone wants to retire until the market goes down. So let's look at that. And let's see how that affects their overall plan, because then that's going to give us an idea of what we need to do from an investment standpoint. So what I like to do is run a Monte Carlo analysis, but strip out each Monte Carlo. And I like to throw in randomized rates of return. So what we've got is we have our retirement summary over here, which is what you just saw on the other tab. So that's just that geometric return. And over here, we have a market comparison saying we're going to get the same rate of return, but we're going to do it in variations, right? So think about it this way. If you make 4% in year one and you make 4% in year two, you're averaging what? 4%. If you make 8% in year one and you make 0% in year two, what are you averaging? 4%. How you got to those 4% numbers are different. It's the same way in the market. It's not going to go up 4% every year. It's going to go up 20, and it's going to go down 15, and it's going to go up 6, and it's going to go down 3, and we're going to average out. And so that's what we're looking at, and we want to compare the ages. So for them, we come to 85, and we say at 85, we have $481,000 in our scenario. Okay, just earning a geometric return. But when we throw in randomized market returns, we have $374,000. And what we've also done is we've taken a negative market return right in the front, a sequence of return risk, -5, -11, -1. And so what we're really trying to do is run this plan through a meat grinder. Now it still looks really good. 85 is probably, a pretty good area that we can say, hey, you might make it to 85 years old. Let's say you make it to 90. They still have plenty of spendable assets at that point, plus their house. So it's a good looking scenario. Now the question becomes, can we make it better? All right, so let's go back. First thing that I want to look at is, should we take Social Security at 65? So we're delaying until 67, but what if we took it 65? So for Andrew, if we took it 65, it would be $2,000. And for Nancy, it's $1,864. So instead of delaying Social Security those first 2 years when they get into retirement and pulling that money out of our investments, now we're going to take Social Security immediately. The average age for retirement today in America is 65 years old. And the reason people like to retire at 65 is, one, you go on Medicare. 2, you can claim Social Security above age 62, which means you're getting a better than reduced benefit. You're not getting your full benefit, but you are getting a better benefit. And 3, did I mention that you go on Medicare and you don't have to worry about health insurance? So 65 is a popular age for most Americans to retire. Now let's look at it. So now we're going to claim Social Security in these first 2 years. So now we look at it and we say, okay, look at this. We don't have the drawdown. Let's go to 85 real quick. At 85, there's $536,170. Okay, I want you to remember that. $536,170. Let's go back to our original scenario. Let's take Social Security at our full retirement age. So 536 is the number we're trying to remember. Go back to retirement. Go back to 85. Look at this, 481. So it actually made more sense from an asset standpoint for them to take Social Security immediately and not to delay. The reason for that is that travel budget they're pulling out, right? Well, I don't want them to delay Social Security until 67 because some financial guru tells them to do that, and then to delay their travel going into retirement. What happens if Andrew passes away at 66? Or what happens if Nancy gets diagnosed with some chronic condition at 66? And now they can't do what they've enjoyed, but somebody told them to delay Social Security, so they delayed their dreams and goals because they want to delay Social Security. That doesn't seem right. And so that's really what we're trying to do here with a financial EKG, is give you confidence knowing that there's some flexibility in your plan and you don't need millions and millions and millions of dollars to retire. You can do it right where you're at. Okay? Well, hey, listen, I appreciate you watching. Thank you so much. God bless. Bye-bye.